still on his feet, inside the 20, 15, 10, he's in, touchdown ran.
Allen tried to toss it for Yarford, touchdown! Wow, what a catch! Cuts at the 5, ball loose, and Dukeman catches it for a score. Step up, gets hit as he throws, looking to the end zone, and it's caught! Touchdown, Bruins! What a catch by Alexander!
10, 5, touchdown!
25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, A.J. Turner!
And here come the Cougar Nation. Northern Region champs.
The Gameday Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training, train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end-zone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Gameday All-Access right here on the Gameday Broadcast Network. I'm Andy Hayes. Good to have you with us here today. Let me introduce you to my panel of experts here. We've got Mr. Bruce Bornarth, who by all means has been an expert for how long, Bruce? A couple weeks? You've
what
said
time
some
is
smart
it?
things recently.
What time is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, give me about 10 minutes.
You'll blow that out of the water, right? And David Liddle joins us again here. David, good to have you back.
Thank you, Andy. Great to be back. Bruce?
The emails just came flooding in. That guy's the smartest guy you've had on the show in a long time. We got to get him back.
I know. So how smart is it for you to bring him back?
Well,
make us look dumb again.
That's right. Well, we're glad you're here. Hey, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about last week here as we hit the rewind button here in Gameday All-Access and talk about the games that we had on the network. And there were some great ones, some that were not so great. But let's start with maybe one of the better ones on the night. It was Stonebridge and Fairfax playing in a thriller. How about the Bulldogs now? They go down to Fairfax thinking, hey, this is probably a Liberty District game we can come away with. Well, Fairfax gave them all they could handle. And one key adjustment here that Coach Kevin Simons has made here in this game, he put Nick Scott at quarterback. Boy, I tell you, that changed the whole complexion of the ball game. Talk about putting pressure on that Stonebridge defense. Nick Scott in this ball game was unbelievable. David, I'll get your thoughts here because I know you've seen him in person some this year as well. Talk a little bit about the move by Coach Simons, and could this spell trouble for some teams in the postseason with the way he played on Friday night? They're not the same team offensively anymore, are they?
Well, I think Nick Scott, I think it was a great move by Simons. What you have now is Cavaljean and Cartier in the backfield, so you now have a three-headed monster back there, and they got some good receivers, Drew Basiliga, Jason Monroe. They're getting the job done, and Nick Scott throws a pretty ball. You watch it, man, it's a nice tight spiral. He's got a huge arm, and he's still got the running ability. So, yeah, it changes the offense for Fairfax and makes them that much more dangerous.
Well, they could be a scary team in the postseason. I think this was a great move by Coach Simons. I agree with you. Now for Stonebridge. This is a game that's a good game for them, in my opinion. In recent years, we've kind of banged on Stonebridge a little bit for not playing tough games down the backside of their schedule, with the Liberty District not being that strong. But when they get a game like this right before the postseason, that's a good thing here, Bruce. Don't you agree? That helps prepare them a little bit.
Oh, I agree, because Stonebridge has been the team this year that hasn't gotten a lot of talk like they're used to having. And I think it gives them that little extra edge right there where, hey, we're not getting a lot of respect, so look out. Here we come. We're getting ready for the playoffs. They get a nice change of pace, if you will, at the end of the season and getting one of those tough games that they have to play really within the Liberty District. But real quickly, from Fairfax, what also this does, I love the timing of it doing it now, because now going into the playoffs, all these other defensive coordinators have to rethink how you're going to play against Fairfax.
No question about it. I mean, there's some people scratching their head now. Number 2 for Fairfax is the real deal, and I like him as a quarterback. He can throw, like David said. Keep an eye on the Rebels now. All right, let's move to our second game here. This was maybe the best game of the night. There were a couple other candidates here, but how about Chantilly and Robinson? And this was a game where we saw Chantilly go ahead, 28-7. They're cruising along, and all of a sudden Robinson comes storming back. And Bruce, you talked about the roller coaster kind of not being up and down. That Robinson's played consistent football. Well, I'll tell you what, this team for Robinson made the plays when it mattered, and they blocked the game-winning field goal at the end of this game. For Chantilly, they thought they had it. 19 seconds to go. They're on the 19-yard line. I mean, this is a chip shot here, and they get a great push up the middle, block the field goal, and they come out of there with a win. Now they're 7-2, getting ready to take on Centerville here this week. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think it's all about Robinson in this game. I've talked about for years Robinson being on that roller coaster up and down, up and down. Well, how do you get on a roller coaster? It has to be a mental thing, because if they're on the way up, they're playing good and they're winning ball games. If they're on the way down, there's got to be something missing. And I think what this does, the way they won the game with that comeback, it takes all those goats and just throws them right out of the closet. And you talk about a confidence builder for the Rams. Now, look out for them going into playoffs.
Yeah, I think this is a big deal for them. David, your thought quickly on Chantilly. How did they rebound and get ready for Westfield after that heartbreaker?
I think they're going to have a tough time rebounding, quite honestly. I think Westfield it's going to be their game. Chantilly's going to have to come in and do something different to try to slow down the Westfield attack. But for Robinson, I'm going to say right now, keep an eye out. Jack Roulette, that was a 28-7 deficit that they overcame to go up 29-28 and then block the field goal. So Robinson, roller coaster, and they were down, and boy, they went up. Marcus Denham, 2 touchdown passes at the end, catches at the end, really brought them back.
Yeah, that's a good sign for them in case they do run into that in the postseason where they fall behind. Now they know they can come back and win a ball game. All right, let's move to our third game here on the schedule, and this was Centerville, again, taking on a team that they were expected to beat, Herndon. They improved to 9-0 with a big win. Not really that close of a ball game. Overall, Centerville, again, looking much like the number 1 team in our power poll. They've been there all season long. Dave, your thoughts? You did this ball game here. What did you like that you saw from Centerville in this contest?
Well, once again, I think it was the depth that they have. We talked about this when I was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Everybody's worried about their two-way players and whether they're going to have enough depth, and it showed that they did. They moved Jake Bainey from linebacker over to the wingback. Not only did the kid block a field goal, he had 2 sacks, caught a touchdown pass out of the backfield, but again, he's a devastating lead blocker for them, and it just gives them another chip in the arsenal. They're loaded from a skill position, and you got kids that would be running. Luke Rexinger came into the game behind the first-team offense. Just a third-string kid. He had 64 yards on 4 carries. That kid, again, would be starting in a lot of schools. So for them, I think, was their depth, Haddock's ability to get everybody involved in the game.
The one thing that I think that's kind of helped Centerville is they have lost some guys for injury here at the good time of the year, not at the end, but it's allowed them to put some new guys in, like the youngsters that you're talking about here, and for them to be able to see that the guys behind their marquee guys can play. That always helps, I think, everybody on the team, knowing that, hey, next man up can get it done too. Mentality-wise, that's going to be a positive for them as they head into the postseason. Don't you agree?
I think everything we see is there's great camaraderie within the locker room and outside the locker room. Good things for Centerville.
And for Herndon, they keep getting better and better, but the scores don't really indicate that. Lameek Bumbry with a big game in this one. Darius Hicks, both those guys are 2 talented players. Bumbry, I said back in training camp, I thought he was one of the better-looking tailbacks, and he's proven that true here over the past few weeks, and had a great run there that we just saw a second ago. So Centerville 9-0, still ranked number 1 in our power poll, but they lost the number 1 spot in the rankings. We'll talk about that here in a little bit and inside the huddle, but we'll keep an eye on that. They'll get it back if they get a big win against Robinson, most likely. Let's move on to our next ball game, Westfield. And hey, the Westfield Bulldogs, and the Oakton Cougars. Always a tough game for Westfield, always a tough game for Oakton. The hard-hitting teams. This is a rematch from the Northern Region Championship game a year ago, but unlike last year, Oakton didn't have enough to get after Westfield in this game. The Bulldogs cruised to a victory. They're now 7-2 on the season. Oakton fighting for their playoff lives now, and I don't know if they're on the bubble. They're on the bubble outside looking in at this point at 4-5. What's one thing we learned about Westfield here in this ball game, Bruce, and the fact that here they're taking care of business against Concord teams that are quality opponents?
Well, it's Westfield positioning themselves for that playoff run and defensively starting to get things figured out. We saw Westfield earlier in the season, not typical or characteristic of a Bulldog team on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that's starting to get figured out.
And then offensively, Tyler Thrasher-Walker, Evan Gray, he had a great game in this one. A couple long touchdowns. He was incredible. Bubba Purcell came back from the game and said, I don't know who number 28 is, but he's the best player I've seen all year. And you know how Bubba is. He's an impulse guy, but he really impressed Bubba Purcell. And we've seen that all year long, David, from Evan Gray.
Well, I've seen it from Evan Gray since about 4th grade playing basketball with my son and coached him for a lot of years. He's a great kid. He's got a lot of speed. He was at a UVA camp that I was at this past summer. Kid's running a 4.5. He's 220 pounds. He's a solid running back.
And he kind of gets overshadowed a little bit, doesn't he, in that offense?
Very much.
Everybody talks about Devon Burns and Tyler Thrasher-Walker and all the other guys, but Evan Gray really has had a marquee season here for Westfield, and he's an important guy if the Bulldogs want to try to get back into the fold here and contend for that Northern Virginia 6A North championship here. It's not Northern Region anymore. What do you got?
Seen a kid block?
Oh, he's incredible.
No, the carries are gravy, what you get out of Evan Gray. But the blocking, you focus on him in a game and all. When they get in that I formation back there and he's starting leading the way, you, me, anybody,
good luck.
That girl sitting over there could run right through that line.
And a great comment. A couple weeks ago we had an argument about who are some of the kids that weren't getting recruited heavily that should be. I think he's a college football player.
I agree.
He's a guy that can do it all, and he's a great back blocking running, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield, which is always something those college coaches love to see. So, hey, college coaches, if you're watching, get on to Evan Gray in a hurry. All right, here we go. Briar Woods and Potomac Falls, an expected big game for the Falcons, and it ended up that way. Brandon Polk had a big night in this one. Trace McSorley, doing what he does best, which is leading victories here on the football field. The one thing we can say about Briar Woods is they've kind of found their groove a little bit as we watch Polk take back a punt here for a touchdown. This wasn't a game that we had the outcome in our mind to be kind of questionable here. We knew Briar Woods was going to go in here and probably win this game. But I think the key thing to keep in mind here, Bruce, is that Briar Woods has to be playing their best football at the end of this season. And since the time that Polk came back, and since the time that they've gotten a little healthier out there, they seem to have all of that going just in time for the postseason. Don't you agree?
Well, they only lost one game early on in the season to North Stafford, and people that I didn't see that game, but people that I talked to said it wasn't an up-to-par performance that we're used to seeing out of Briar Woods, and I think you're right. They get Polk back, and they starting to hit their stride now. And I think what's good for them, especially being in 5A now, is that they're playing tougher games at the end of the regular season before they go into playoffs. Because let's not forget, it takes 5 to win a state title once you get out of the regular season.
Well, yeah, no question. They had a tougher schedule in the beginning half with North Stafford and Colonial Forge, who have both proven to be pretty good ball clubs here. Now, Tuscarora come to town this week. We'll highlight that game coming up in the picks of the week. David, what's the one thing you think that Briar Woods has to maybe do here moving forward to get back in the hunt for a state title?
Well, I think they're doing it. I think incorporating Polk back into the offense. They got the big tight end now. I forget his name, but the freshman.
Yeah, Mark Birmingham.
Yeah, playing some great ball, or sophomore, I guess, at this point. Playing some great ball. And I think with McSorley, he's another one like Scott Walter, got a lot of weapons at his disposal, and he's starting to utilize all of those. And I think their offense is clicking at the right time.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it all works out here against the Huskies coming to town on Friday night. That's essentially for the Potomac District Championship. So we'll talk about that here in a couple segments. All right, moving on to our game of the week last week. It was Lake Braddock and South County. Two bitter rivals from the Patriot District teeing it up here. And, boy, this one was fun to watch in the first half. Bruce, I thought just by chance, man, I was going to get a close game here. They were going back and forth. Caleb Henderson right to work first drive, hitting Vince Sika down the middle of the field. They would punch it in from 1 yard out. David Simzo takes the team right back down the field, then throws a pick to A.J. Alexander. That was kind of the storyline in this game. South County moved the football all night long on Lake Braddock, at least in the first couple of quarters. What happened, though, when they got into the red zone is they kind of stumbled and started turning the football over and not capitalizing on the opportunity. And that allowed guys like Trevor O'Brien, who you just watched that great run, Caleb Henderson, to start picking them apart. And once they got the lead, then it was kind of tough for South County to come back. But I was impressed. I walked away impressed with these teams. And I'll tell you this about Lake Braddock. Everybody keeps asking us about Lake Braddock or Centerville. That's not a wash game. That's not a game that's for certain by any stretch at this point. I think Centerville is an incredible team. I'm going to tell you, Lake Braddock's incredible too. They've got some real problems for people out on the football field. And David, I'm going to let you hit on this for a second. This is one of those teams that they're kind of like Centerville. You try to take something away, they've got answers for you everywhere across the field.
Well, they have matchup problems galore for the majority of the teams out there. Right, you got Alexander, Ryan Antonellis, another 6'5" tight end who they split him out a lot because he's kind of a freakish athlete. He can run, he can jump. You got Sika in the middle. You got Trevor O'Brien. You got Lee, the other little running back there. And I think Caleb Henderson really wanted to show, hey, I am the best quarterback in this district, bar none. So he had a big game on the ground as well as throwing the ball. And again, they're going to be a tough matchup and a tough out for anybody.
Well, 3 touchdowns on the night for Caleb Henderson running the ball, so threw one as well. But one thing to note in this game, both Henderson and Trevor O'Brien were dinged up, and they both walked off the field limping badly. And that impacted the second half. Levon Davis with a big run here was one of the best plays of the night for South County, but wasn't able to score on the play. Got knocked down at the 1-yard line. But here's the one thing I'll take away from this ball game. Bruce, and you'll love this. The kicker for Lake Braddock may be the best player they have. I'm not kidding you. He might be the best kicker that I've seen in the past 10 years. And that says something because we've seen some good ones.
We've seen some great
Corey
kickers.
Huddleston. I'm telling you, folks, this guy, normally we say kickers don't really make an impact on the game until they come out to try to kick a game-winning field goal or something. Corey Huddleston makes an impact all throughout the ballgame because he kicks nothing but touchbacks on kickoffs. He's a great punter. Bruce, he knocked 2 punts inside the 10-yard line. It's like he's hitting a sand wedge and bringing it back like Tiger Woods. And then he kicks 3 field goals, one from 46 yards like it was nothing. No big deal. I mean, the kid is a major college football kicker. I don't say that very often about guys, but we named him. Chris Barras and I named him our player of the game. That's how good he is. And that's the second game that we could have done that. The first game we called with Lake Braddock and Stonebridge, we thought the same thing. And, I mean, I don't normally stand on my soapbox and call out kickers and say, man, that guy's unbelievable. This kid's unbelievable. I thought that'd put a smile on your face. So, all right, we'll move on to the next game. Great game here now. How about Woodgrove and Broad Run? This is the first time they've met in football. Mike Skinner out at Woodgrove, Matt Griffiths at Broad Run. Known each other. They obviously coached against one another in the past. This was a game where Broad Run really needed to win. And Woodgrove showed some toughness here in this game and made the plays when it mattered most. Josh Sweet with a big night, both defensively and offensively here, as you see a long touchdown run. They handed the ball to Josh Sweet 48 times, and then the kid ran for over 270 yards in this game. That said, it came down to the defense for Woodgrove making the plays when it mattered most, and they kicked the game-winning field goal and then intercepted Brady Reitzel to close out a 24-23 win. Signature win, David Liddle. Signature win of the Mike Skinner era at Woodgrove. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a great win for Mike Skinner and his club out there. Josh Sweet, you're right. Great night running the ball, but I saw him come up with a defensive stop on a goal line stand as well that was every bit as big, man, and he came out and he flexed.
Yeah.
And he was just as proud of that as any 80-yard touchdown run. Just a great job by Woodgrove and Skinner getting themselves ready for the playoffs.
And Bruce, this is a dagger here for Broad Run. It didn't really affect their playoff seeding. They were probably going to come in as an 8 or 9 seed no matter what. But confidence-wise, I mean, you want to go in strong to the postseason, and losing a game on the road that you kind of had in your hands toward the last few minutes of the game, and not being able to stop the other team, and then giving up an interception on the last drive there, that's got to hurt their confidence a little bit. How do they rebound and get ready?
Well, you could go one of two ways if you're Broad Run from this game. You can go in the tank and feel woe is me and have a little pity party. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Coach Griffiths and that staff is going to have that as motivation, and what it's going to do, it's going to make them mad. It's going to get into, I can't believe that happened. Not only did it happen to another Loudoun County team, and it's the first time they played us. They're a lower level than we are. They beat us. I think it's going to tick off the Spartans and really catapult them into good things from here out. From Woodgrove, it's one of those kind of wins that you build and grow from right there. You look back and say, when did it turn the corner? This could be that game.
Well, and it's going to have to turn the corner quick because guess who is waiting for them here on Friday night? Their rival, their bitter rival, Loudoun Valley. That's going to be a great ball game here. All right, final game for us to talk about. How about the Liberty Eagles? Boy, you count Liberty out, and time again, you make a mistake. They were trailing Kettle Run in this game late, and somehow, someway, for the second consecutive season, they find a way to come back and win this game 28-26. Sean Finnerty right now may have the hottest team going here in 4A. We'll talk about that more a little bit in depth, but here's the bottom line. They get the win, and that propels them for an opportunity here against Fauquier to help claim their district here. What do you think here, David?
Number one, it was a fun game to watch. Again, they always battle well out there. You know, Kettle Run's got a good club. They were pretty hot coming into that game as well. So, yeah, Liberty's on their way. Big game this week, but you're right. You know, they're really hot as they're getting into the playoffs. So look for a good run. These
rivalries toward the end of the season for Liberty have turned into some great games. And Justin Waddell is begging me to call the Liberty Fauquier game. I know why. Because every game they play is close. It's unbelievable.
I understand that, but what I'm thinking has to do with those rivalries. Now, has this Kettle Run Liberty thing kind of taken a little bit of the luster away from the Bird Bowl?
It has a little bit because three's a crowd, man. I mean, it is. And so far, though, Liberty going into the last two games with Kettle Run this year and then last year as the underdog, not the favorite, not the better record, and coming out with a win on Kettle Run's home field. Let me tell you something, this does not sit well with the Cougar fans. They don't want to lose to Liberty. But a great game. It's a great high school football game, and we congratulate Liberty on coming out with a 28-26 victory. We'll see if that kind of helps them down the backstretch of the season here towards the postseason. All right, folks, that'll do it here for our Game Day Rewind. We'll step aside for a quick break. When we come back, it's time for Inside the Huddle, playing a little fact or fiction as we kind of get you prepped and ready to go for Week 11 of the 2013 football season. Big matchups coming up here on the network. We'll talk about that and more right after this.
You know, this is a great win. You know, South County, it's a great rivalry. You know, they're great offense, we're a great offense, so it was a really good matchup. And the hype of this game on social media and everywhere was crazy. People were cheering us on, cheering them on. It was a great atmosphere.
Feels good. I mean, it's a district opponent trying to win a conference. We just won a conference tonight, so first conference championship or conference title banner going to be up in our gym, which is also pretty cool. So South County's a good team. It's a good thing that we played a team like that going into the playoffs, and hopefully we roll over tomorrow, next week, and make some big plays again and come out with another W.
We adjusted some fronts, some looks, and we felt like if we went in and out of those looks, it might get in trouble picking up instead of just sitting in our base 4-3. And then to play hard. I mean, the bottom line is in the first half, I felt like they got yards after carry, and they really, were meeting our emotional level. I felt like, hey, coming out at the half, we're going to kick off. We have to put a stop to them right there. And we were able to. They got one first down there, and then we stopped it, and then we went right down and got a field goal. But still, that was a lot of time that was burned off the clock doing so. I think that everyone's thinking like Braddock just as a passing offense. We've really established the run game with Trevor O'Brien and all the O-linemen. It all starts with the O-linemen running and even throwing the ball, giving time for Caleb to throw it, give us to make receivers make plays.
Yeah, you get your dings and you get your bumps and bruises, and we have our share of them. There's no question about that. But up front, we're pretty healthy. You know what I mean? And in the pits, we're healthy. You got to make sure the quarterback's fine. I think that's minor.
We played well as a team. That's like you said. Everyone's stepping up. Our defense is still holding people to a minimum amount of points, and it's a team effort.
Corey's been very, very consistent. He's been a huge weapon in terms of kickoffs. Every time they have these fast kids, we don't want to kick it, and every time we kick off, it goes in the end zone, so they can't run it back. And they have to start at 20, and they have an 80-yard field. And you've seen the stat pages before where if you have to go 80 yards, your chance of making it is X, and if you have to go 70 yards, so on. But they have a long way to go every time they get it, so that's a huge weapon. But I mean, for a high school kid to come out and just drill a 45-yarder, and it had 5, 6, 7 extra yards to spare, it's pretty good. I mean, and we're trying to drum up college interest in him because he's a 3.8, 3.9 student also, so people need to watch your program here and get on board.
My name is Dr. Felix Yuskin, and both my wife and I own the Spine and Joint Health Center here in Fairfax City. I'm originally from this area. I grew up and went to Robinson High School. Played football for the Robinson Rams there, graduated in '91. One of the advantages that a student athlete has here is they always have, the parent always has access to me. So here in our office we have access to, ultrasound, muscle stem, Russian stem, things to strengthen, take the inflammatory response out of the joint process for those athletes so that they recuperate much faster. At the Spine and Joint Health Center, we would like to be your team doctors so that we can go down this journey together, both on and off the field.
The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior, results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care.
Who you got Friday?
Give me back my helmet.
I'm good.
Dude, give me back the helmet. Serious. I'm getting ticked. Give me back my helmet, now.
Would you two guys quit fighting? This will get settled on Friday night. We got a show to do.
Give me back my helmet.
High school football fans, don't miss Gameday All-Access each week online at GameDayMagazine.com. Dive into the area's best storylines and break down the biggest games to get you ready for the Friday night lights. Gameday All-Access, weekdays online at GameDayMagazine.com. There's only one Game Day.
Henderson wants to roll left, looking down the middle of the field. Caught! Sink has got it! Leans to the goal line!
Just short, Andy.
28. Here's Sims, fakes the give, back to pass, got a man, intercepted, off the deflection. Coming back the other way is Alexander, out to the 47, and the Bruins have it back. Anderson on second down. Hand off O'Brien, straight ahead, gashing him up the middle to the 35-30. O'Brien breaks to the corner. He's going to outrun the defense. Touchdown, Bruins.
We welcome you back here to the Game Day Broadcast Network and Game Day All-Access. I'm Andy Hayes, joined by Bruce Bornarth, David Liddle with you. Now time for Inside the Huddle, fellas. And today we're playing a little fact or fiction. We got some rivalry games coming up this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get started. And I'm playing quarterback today, David, because I want your thoughts here. Here we go. Ready? First one. The first round will feature an upset. Fact or fiction? We'll start with you, David.
Oh, I definitely think fact on this one. Matter of fact, what I see, Stonewall Jackson's going to come in there because they had those losses earlier in the season. They're going to be seeded lower. Boy, they're going to be tough for somebody. And I think they may match up against Yorktown. As much as I like MJ Stewart and Yorktown, I think Stonewall Jackson's going to pull that early round upset in the 6A. On the 5A side, we talked a little bit in the previous segment about Broad Run. I think Broad Run is going to be out early.
Really?
So
there's Falls, because right now it looks like Falls Church would probably be their opponent.
I think Broad Run has shown me that they don't get it done in the tight games. And I think when you come to playoff time, I think Falls Church is going to have enough to come in there and potentially take Broad Run out.
It's going to be a good first-round matchup. What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, in the truest sense of the word, it has to be fact, because you get in there and the 7, 10, 8, 9 seeds, somebody's going to beat somebody that's going to technically be an upset. But really, those are almost head-to-head even matchups. I don't see any upsets in the wider rounds. I see the favorites, 1 through 4, 1 through 5 going through nice and clean. So in this round, yeah, the only upsets are going to be the even head-to-head games. I don't see a surprise upset, is guess what I'm trying to say.
I guess when you look at it,
I'm not buying into Stonewall.
Yeah, 8, 9 versus 7, 10. Those are higher seed games, closer even seed games more so. My thing is would we see a 1 or 2 or 3 go down? Yeah, you got to be careful now. You never know. First round looks like there's going to be some dog games, some games that we already know the outcomes. But that's why they play the games. Don't be shocked. I'll agree with you, David. I think we'll see Stonewall and Yorktown. That might be a good upset there, even though talent-wise they're probably a little better than Yorktown. All right, fact or fiction? Too many teams in the playoffs. We always argue this. Now you got 16 teams from up here in the postseason. You got teams with losing records playing in the playoffs. David, your thoughts first. What do you think?
Well, I think at least on 6A you're going to have 5 and 5 will probably be the bottom, so you'll have a couple guys that are at 500. 16 out of 29 is what we have for the 6A North. I think it's pretty representative. I think when you look at it, it makes it challenging. It keeps everybody interested in the game. So I kind of like it. So I'm going to take fiction on it.
Okay, how about you, Bruce?
Total complete fiction. I've always been on the side of the more the merrier. I know the flip side argument as well. You get a number 1 seed or a team that's got to go through 5 games to get to the state championship, and they're one of the real true favorites to win a title. What if somebody gets hurt? Look, somebody can get hurt on any play, any week. From a selfish standpoint, I love it because you add rounds to the playoffs, and what does that do? That extends the season. That gives you more games to watch. I love it. Give people an opportunity to win. I've never bought into this, well, a losing record should never make the playoffs. Come on. Give people a shot. Let's go for it. If you're really that good, you're going to take care of business.
Bruce, losing records should not be in the playoffs.
Oh, come on.
That's not a playoffs. I mean, that's rewarding teams just because you play. If you have a 4-6 record, you shouldn't be in the postseason.
It's going to happen.
I'm aware. I'm buying this. I think there's too many teams. You don't want teams with losing records in the postseason.
Why?
Because here's the deal. The team that probably will face them is going to be undefeated or a one-loss team at the 1 seed. And why should they have to face a team with a losing record in round 1? Give them a bye.
So we can have upsets.
Well, but that's not even an upset. I mean, I don't even have a chance for an upset. I mean, to me, you reward the teams that finish number 1 and number 2 with a first-round bye. And then that's fine if you want to have those other teams play in that round 1 and those teams with a losing record, but you shouldn't force a 1 or 2 team in the seedings to play a team that has a losing record. I don't think that's okay. Because there's no benefit for finishing number 1 then. What's the benefit for finishing number 1 and undefeated?
Because you get to play that team.
But you still have to play in that week. You don't get a chance to get healthy. There's no advantage. There's no advantage to finishing number 1.
A lot of coaches will say you that's great because we don't want to lose momentum. How many times have we heard coaches throughout the years say they hate that 10th week bye going into the playoffs because if they're on a roll or they're coming from behind, they're losing momentum going in. Now I know it's going to be split. Some coaches are going to say I love it because we get a chance to get healthy, we get a chance to prepare. But I'll bet you most guys don't want to get out of their rhythm, I can't talk either today, and would rather stay on that roll and not have that bye while everybody else is playing.
Here's the other thing that happens is you have first-round repeats of the Week 11 games. So you have the same team coming to town. Okay, and this is what I'm saying. The NFL has a model in place right now that really is exciting. Okay, and it gives the top 2 seeds. I'm not saying take less playoff teams. I'm saying let's reward the top 2 seeds with a first-round bye and a chance to get healthy because then you're playing for something. Okay, now you get something for being the best 2 teams in the marketplace. Okay, you're not doing district champions anymore. So reward the top 2 seeds like they do in the NFL. Then let everybody else play. And the wild cards are the teams that are sneaking in at the end. That's just my opinion. I think it would make it better and more rewarding for the teams that run out front. Why should a Centerville have to play a team that that has a 5-5 record? That's not a playoff record. It shouldn't be a playoff record. So that's just my opinion. You can disagree, but I do. I'm on
the last thing on that is the fact that we now have the 6A North and the 5A North has 16 teams, where in the South you have 8 on the East and 8 on the West, or however they're doing it down there, and then they reseed as you get to the final semifinal round, where in the North it just keeps going down on your pairings.
Yeah, it's different.
That's different too.
Yeah, and I think they need to tweak it at some point in the next couple of years. So I'll throw my 2 cents in there. All right, fact or fiction? The 6A North final will feature Lake Braddock and Centerville. We've been talking about it all year long. Will it happen? Fact or fiction?
I'm saying fact. I think they're the 2 best clubs out there. The only thing where fiction might come in to me is that Westfield may surprise some people and be able to pull off an upset against Lake Braddock because they played them earlier in the year. Coach Simmons out there is very good at game planning. Get them a second time, that could happen. But I think Lake Braddock just has too much for Westfield at this point. Centerville, I think, is going to make it through to that regional final as well.
What do you think, Bruce?
I think it's fact. I mean, you look at this. These 2 teams have separated themselves so far, in my opinion, from the rest of the pack that it would be a major miracle if they don't end up meeting. I don't see either one of them stumbling. I mean, look at the leadership on that team, on both teams, not only from a coaching standpoint, but from a senior player standpoint.
I'll say this. I'm going to say fact, but I agree with David. I think there could be a potential upset. And I'm going to tell you this. If Stonewall beats Yorktown, and they end up being the team that has to go see Centerville in round 2, you want to go see a game now, that's a game you're going to want to go watch. Because you talk about athletes now. That might feature the best athletes in the state of Virginia on the same field at one time. It'd be like Ocean Lake's Oscar Smith. I mean, that is going to be an unbelievable matchup if it happens. Stonewall's got to take care of business. I think Centerville is in that game no matter what. But I'm telling you right now, and I know you're Centerville, man. I don't want to upset you. But I don't think you can look past Stonewall based on who they have on the field either, whereas Lake Braddock, same thing with Westfield. So is it a given? We think it should happen, but you never know. All right, moving on. How about this one? Fact or fiction, Stonebridge and Briarwoods will finally happen. It'll finally happen. Bruce, what's your thought? What do you think?
I think it's a fact. I think it's on a collision court. I think it's one of those destiny, one of those fate things. And I think this is the appropriate year for that to happen. I just, I got my crystal ball out, I shook it up, or my Ouija board. What's that ball with the 8 in it, that you shake up and it's got all the fluid in it, rolls around and it tells you, who you're going out with that night? Whatever that thing is tells me this is going to happen.
I think Charlie Pierce and Mickey Thompson have been way too friendly over the years. They need to play. I mean, back in the day when they played at Parkview and Stonebridge, there wasn't a lot of love between the two of them. I think we need to get back to that. I mean, I think they need to play. What do you think, Dave? Is it going to happen?
I think it is going to happen. It'll be the true battle of the burn.
That's the one game we've been all waiting for, right? So we'll find out if it does. If it would happen over Thanksgiving weekend. So maybe the guys will be a little nicer to each other in the holiday festive season. Yeah, I'm laughing because that's not going to happen. All right, here we go. Fact or fiction, home field advantage in the playoffs matters. Bruce, we've argued this in the past, but this year, does it matter, fact or fiction?
I think it's pure fact. I think it matters more so than forever, especially with 16 teams now in it, and you get an upset or two. And in our area, they don't reseed or anything. You may end up traveling and have to drive 2 hours to play a game at some point, especially where it matters and all is in that seeding in the 7, 10, 8, 9 area, where one game could determine where you're going, and that determination could be a 2-hour drive or so. Plus the home field advantage with some of the crowds that we have in the areas, guys, I think it's pure fact.
David, let me put it to you this way. Right now, Centerville is trailing Lake Braddock in power points. They're expected, if they win against Robinson this week, to retake that spot as the #1 seed going into the 6A North playoffs. How big is that, knowing that if they are able to make it to the state semifinals, essentially, that they would have Lake Braddock on their home turf? Does it matter?
I think it would matter, yes. And especially since they got upset in the playoffs on their home turf a year ago, and I think they want to defend that home turf. Now, that's one of the things when you talk about this particular question, I'm saying that it's going to be fiction because I think as you get later into the playoffs, it matters less.
Okay.
Because you get a team that's on a roll and they come in hot. Westfield's been home for the regional championship the last 2 seasons, and they haven't walked away with the regional title. And I think we've seen that before, where, again, you get somebody on a roll, and anything can happen in that last game. Because generally, when you talk about the other teams traveling, they're going to travel on those big games. At that time, the ADs, they get bus loads together.
Right.
Everybody's getting together. It's not like that Friday night where it's 7:30 at night. It's an afternoon game on a Saturday. So I think you take away a little bit of that advantage later in the playoffs. Early on, I agree with Bruce.
Comfortable settings. I mean, if I switched chairs for Bruce Bornarth and made him sit in a different chair, he'd be uncomfortable. He wouldn't feel right about his job. And that's kind of why it matters, because when you're at home and you're used to everything you're used to getting, like Bruce when he goes to Briarwoods, gets chocolate strawberries, he gets some food in the booth. If you take Bruce away from that, he's just not the same guy. So it matters. Definitely matters. You like that, Bruce?
That's
all right.
deep.
That's deep right
That's
there.
real deep.
Here we go. Fact or fiction? We hit on it a little bit in the first segment. Liberty is the hottest team in 4A North. Look out, Sharando, because you might get them again in the second round. David, they're playing some great football right now, and I think teams need to worry about them. What do you think, fact or fiction?
I think they definitely need to worry about them, but I'm saying fiction. I think Sharando, they had the week off. Basically, they are still the team to beat in 4A North. They're the one, I think, so fiction on that.
All right, what do you think, Bruce?
I think it's almost fact. Now, if they take care of business in the Bird Bowl, then it is pure fact. They are on a roll. And the other team, as long as we're talking about who's hot and who's not, I would take Woodgrove. If Woodgrove beats Valley this week, they're on a roll too.
Yeah,
they're hot.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'll say fact. I like the way Liberty's playing right now. They're taking care of business, and they're winning games that are close games, which always matters in the postseason because you're going to play close games down the stretch in the second season, as they say. All right. Fact or fiction? A lot has been made out there. People yapping on message boards and talking about this in the coffee shops. That the rivalries are kind of losing their sizzle with the way the new classification has reshaped Virginia high school athletics. I'll put it to you like this: fact or fiction? Is the rivalry game not as big anymore, David? What do you think?
I think it's fiction, but I think it's the true rivalry game. What we have is, because of the population, you have a lot of the new builds, which Battlefield Patriot coming on. That's going to be a rivalry game, but that's a new one, right? A couple of years ago, Battlefield wouldn't have been at Patriot as a rivalry game. But you go to some of the old school ones, the Robinsons, Lake Braddocks, the Centerville, Chantilly. You got kids that just don't really care for each other out there. They've been playing youth against each other the whole time. When you have those neighborhood ones, though, it becomes more of a pride thing because you have played youth ball together in a lot of cases. So I'm going to say that this is a hard one. I think it's fiction, but only because you have so many new schools continuing to pop up, and it's going to take time for those rivalries to really develop.
Has the reclassification, has it hurt the rivalries in your opinion at all?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. How about you, Bruce?
I think it's becoming fact more and more and more. I think the rivalries, traditional rivalries, are relevant now. But I think as this system continues on down the road, and as David said, this group of kids, and they start to graduate and move on, we get the next generation of kids, they're going to start to lose their luster. There's too many schools, the area's growing too fast, and they don't have that kind of meaning anymore. Now, where I think it's going to change, and I really do this, I think if you look at the playoff system now, the only time that you have to play for a trophy is in that state championship game, in that title game. There's no more regional championship trophy. There's no more district championship trophy. So that stuff doesn't mean a lot, and that has a lot to do with rivalries along the way. I see things starting to happen like what's going on started last year with Parkview and Dominion. They created, in effect, their own bowl game, the Battle for Route 7, and there's a trophy on the line. That's a chance to play for a trophy, and I see more and more of those bowl games being created that are going to make real rivalries, because now, I mean, you watch that game. Neither one of the, well, Dominion may be going to the playoffs. Parkview isn't. But that game, you would have thought it was a playoff game because it meant something. There was a trophy on the line. It's not just that state final game that you get to play for a trophy. Now you create these bowl games, as I call them. Rivalries are going to come back stronger.
So all I have to do to create a rivalry with you is get a trophy? That's it? Done deal, man. Let's go.
T-bone, baby. I want a T-bone.
I'm saying fiction because let me just ask Woodgrove and Valley if the rivalry doesn't matter. How about Battlefield and Patriot? How about Westfield and Chantilly? Even though it's 5-4 versus 7-2, you think that rivalry doesn't matter this week? Robinson, Centerville, they got a nice little healthy battle going on this week. Stonebridge, Bornarth, I don't see it really impacting the rivalries. Although I do think it makes the regular season a little bit less valuable because you're not really playing for a district like you used to say. But I'm gonna say fiction. And that'll do it for Inside the Huddle. Nice job, guys. All right, time now for our spirit battle here. One of 3 here this week. And we've picked 3 spirit battles because, quite frankly, there's a lot of great school spirits going to happen this week. It's rivalry week. And we start here with our first one, which is the big one at Briarwoods. Now, we called out the Falcon Frenzy, called them the Orange Crush. That was almost an insult in itself earlier in the year, and they showed up big. But now they got the Tusky Terror coming to town. Now, if there's an up-and-comer better than the Tusky Terror at Tuscarora High School, I want to see them. Bruce, they bring it. Falcon Frenzy kind of, they're on and off. I mean, they may not look at this game as that big a deal. Who wins the spirit battle this weekend?
No. Falcon Frenzy looks at this as a huge deal. Last game going into the playoffs, home game. Briarwoods, after the first week or so, may not be at home on that in the playoffs. If they're still winning and still alive in the playoffs, no. Here comes the homer in me. Briarwoods all the way.
Falcon Frenzy from Bruce. What do you think, David?
Well, I think I got to agree with Bruce on this one. It's a home game. It's the end of the season. You got a good Tuscarora team coming in here. This is going to be a big competitive game. And again, you want to get off on that right foot, and you want to send your team off if they do have to go on the road for any length of time. So I think the Falcon Frenzy is going to get this one.
You know what? I'll tell you this. When we did the Broad Run game, Bruce, with Tuscarora, I was shocked at how little support they had across the way. I didn't think they traveled hardly at all. So maybe they only like Leesburg, because they're unbelievable at home. But maybe they don't know where Ashburn is, and that could be a problem for Friday night, because that's where the game's at. It's in Ashburn. So I don't know. I got to go with the Falcon Frenzy based on what I saw in the Broad Run week. I got to take Briar Woods in this one. Spirit Battle goes to the Falcon Frenzy. There you go. Tuscarora, great student section at home. Can you bring it to Briar Woods? I mean, it's only about 10 miles down the road. You just got to turn right on Belmont Ridge Road, take you right to the school. I'm helping you, right? There you go. GPS it. All right, time now for our second Spirit Battle here. All right, you ready for this one? And this is a great one. This might be the best in the marketplace that nobody talks about other than Bruce Bornarth. We've got the Wild, they call themselves the Wild from Woodgrove High School, heading across town to take on the Jungle. The Wild versus the Jungle. Love the names. Brucey. Yes. These two, they go at it now spirit-wise. They are always trying to prove the other one that they're not good enough. What do you think?
There is always an exception to every rule. And my argument in the last segment about the rivalries fading out doesn't apply to these two teams. I mean, I love this, especially being old school Loudoun County. I mean, this is Parkview Broad Run. This is Surplanted County Valley. I mean, this is huge. I've seen both in action, but I've only seen the Jungle really in basketball. They bring it in the basketball games. I'm not so sure how they do when they get outside and they've got all that atmosphere and air and all to deal with. I've seen Woodgrove up in person the past 2 years in a row now, and this is my road victory here for the Woodgrove. I am taking the Wild on the road. I usually take the home team in a Spirit Battle. I'm going with a road team this time.
What do you think, Dave?
I hate having to agree with them on all these this week, but I see the same thing, especially after that big win against Broad Run last week. They were into it, and I think what you're going to see, this is basically, it's an away game, but it's around the corner. It's over the little bridge over Route 7 there, right? It's not very far to go. I think the Wild are going to pack it in, and they are going to go wild and win.
I got to disagree with both of you. First of all, you're totally discounting how incredible the Jungle is on everything. Not just basketball. Come on, Bruce. You've been around forever. You're the mayor of Loudoun County. I mean, how in the world could you say they're just a basketball student section? Totally false. Listen, if anybody needs to be called out here, it's Woodgrove, because Valley, they're going to fill their side of the stadium, guaranteed. Will you do the same? I don't think so. I don't think they'll bring as many people as Loudoun Valley to this game. I'm taking the Jungle. You go to the Jungle before you go to the Wild. Do you understand that? That's the order here that you go in. The Jungle wins the Spirit Battle here. Woodgrove, you're going to have to show me something on Friday night, because I'm not buying it. All right, moving on to the next Spirit Battle and the last one here. Again, our Spirit Battles are brought to you by the Atlanta Bread Company right up the road. Go see our friends at Atlanta Bread. Tell them Game Day sent you. Get 10% off your lunch. Time for the big game down in Chantilly. It is the Purple Platoon on the road at the Dog Pound taking on Westfield. Brucey, we've seen the best of this one. We've also seen the worst of it some years when it hadn't been that big a deal. But it's always a pretty big deal down there. But who wins this one?
You know,
what do you think?
I've changed my mind just now, just sitting here. Go figure, right? There's a shock for you. What's Chantilly? 5-4 right now?
Yes.
And my partner Taylor predicted 5-5. You know, Chantilly's season is not going well. If you're a Charger fan, you're not happy with the way things are going this year. This is abnormal from the way they play. I was going Westfield all the way on this thing. But I'm thinking this now, and maybe I'm thinking too much. It's starting to burn inside my ears. Chantilly's chance at any success this season is winning this Spirit Battle. I think the students and the Purple Platoon pick up the football team where they've been slacking this year and make the difference, and this is a win for Chantilly.
I don't know, David. I mean, this is travel for Chantilly. They got to go across town. Now, when we saw them travel to Langley, they didn't show up here. What do you think?
I think this is Westfield, the Dog Pound all the way on this one. Chantilly, yes, they have had a disappointing football season, and the Chantilly Purple Platoon are bandwagon fans to me. Well, they only are showing up all the time when they're winning and they're hot and they're really going at it, and they're not right now. They're not hot. The Bulldog Dog Pound, on the other hand, you got Pat Lawless and the boys out there. They're leading the cheers. This is going to be their big opportunity because Westfield might go out of the playoffs early themselves this year. So they want to be out there, and they want to get their guys going on that home field.
So the dog pound for David, and you're taking the purple platoon.
I am.
Bruce is trying to win back some friends after he called Chantilly out a few weeks ago. Nice move on your part. Hey, look, you can't beat the dog pound at home. I mean, Chantilly's only done it one time since I've been around here calling games. And that was back, I think, in the 08, 07 year, somewhere in that ballpark, where they jammed that place so full that they actually took over the parking lot, tailgated beforehand, more so than the Westfield kids. Look, that's great, but we can't live in the past anymore. Let's just be realistic. Purple Platoon, you haven't been doing that, okay? We haven't seen that over the past couple years. The numbers really that's the biggest concern for me. It's not like the kids that show are great, but there's just not as many showing up as it used to be. And Westfield will have the whole student section jammed in this one. I'm going with my man David Liddle here. The dog pound wins this one. Chantilly, it's on you to show us differently. All right, and again, we thank you for watching our spirit battles here, but time to remind you to tweet us your thoughts about this, because I'm sure there'll be some conversation happening on Twitter after we put these out. At GBN Mobile is how you do it. It's real simple. Like us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter, and hey, we get a chance to talk to you a little bit back and forth. All right, that's it for Inside the Huddle and our Spirit Battles. Again, brought to you by the Atlanta Bread Company. We'll step aside for a quick break. When we come back, Picks of the Week are next here on the Game Day Broadcast Network.
When ice and rest aren't enough, it's time for you to call Robin O'Connor at Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy provides Loudoun and Fairfax with the finest physical therapy around. Hundreds of high school athletes have trusted Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy to help them get back on the field. Don't let that injury go untreated. Call Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy today at 703-724-7474 or visit us online at integratedsportspt.com. It's where athletes go to get back in the game.
For us, we have my oldest son. We have 3 boys who've come through here. My oldest is 13, so we've been started coming to the camps probably about 7 years ago. It's really good for him. It's his home away from home during the summer, and been real good for his confidence building. The counselors are great. He interacts with them really well, and so when we've got each successive kid to get old enough to come here, and they've been really nice to let us come even a little early and do the full day camps for the younger guys. Same thing, it's a real good confidence builder. They build up relationships with the coaches, and so that's kind of how it all started. And then we've brought them here for individual instruction, top notch, and brought teams in here as well. So this is the best facility in the area, hands down, for our money.
Come by and visit Diamond Sports Training today, where baseball season never ends.
Burns playing quarterback. Takes the snap, direct run around the right end to the 45, 40, gets down to the 30, to the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Westfield, 44 yards, Devin Burns.
Hogan, what's going on? 34 seconds. Walters, snap, Hogan, hitting the backfield, driving, touchdown Eagles! Oh my goodness gracious. TJ Hogan from 1 yard out! Folks, can you believe it?
Welcome back to Gameday All-Access. Andy Hayes, Bruce Bornarth, and David Liddle here. Time now for our Picks of the Week. And it's getting heated here. Bruce is getting desperate. Our producer, Helene Shane, and myself are battling for first place here. David being the guest pick this week, expert. He's going to help Bruce. Hopefully, Bruce, if you're smart, you'll listen to David, and maybe you'll improve a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about our first game to diagnose here. Ready? Oakton at Herndon. Hey, the Cougars trying to finish 5-5. Tough road stretch here down the back end of this schedule here. David, Herndon making progress. If there's been a winnable game for them in the Concord, this might be it for them. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Herndon. I like what Brian Day is doing over there. Again, he's got a good group of young players. Ryan McLaughlin looking good at the quarterback slot. Bumbry running the ball. Hicks. Connor Johnson, a really good receiver. I like Herndon in this at home.
Always played close games, Bruce. Who are you taking in this one?
See this?
Yes.
In Penn this week. Oakton fighting for their playoff lives. You got to like Oakton with the experience and the leadership.
Yeah, I want to take Herndon in this game because of the way they played against some better competition. I think they've actually played Centerville and Westfield and Chantilly tougher than Oakton has, which tells me a little bit something about their offense. I'm going to go out on a limb here, too, and take Herndon. I think their big playability is going to be the difference in this game, and I think Oakton's really struggled with injuries and depth issues here. I think Herndon might actually get their first Concord win in some time. All right, Falk here at Liberty, the Bird Bowl. Boy, it may not get better than this one. If you haven't been to the Bird Bowl and you got something that you need to do on Friday night other than go here, you're missing out, I think. Bruce, you've been there. I've been there. One of the great games in the state of Virginia. Who do you like?
If you're going to the Bird Bowl, though, go early. Because it's great because Route 17 sits right there, and you sit there looking at it from the stadium, and you see the line of cars. It's like that movie, Field of Dreams, when they're coming to it, bringing it will come. But, yeah, we talked about it earlier. I think one of the hottest teams in the area is Liberty.
Taking the Eagles?
Yes.
What do you think?
Which Eagle? Our Eagles and Falcons.
That's right.
Momentum. Liberty.
Yeah, Old Mo matters here. Liberty's playing great football. I'm going to go with what David said, Bruce said. Take Liberty at home. They don't lose the Bird Bowl. It's not a game that they drop very often. All right, Dominion at Potomac Falls. The Battle of Sterling. Now, we talk about all these other rivalry games like they're big time, and they are. But this game is heated between these two. They don't like losing to one another. Dominion already with their most wins under Carl Buckwalter, and they can get the best ever season here with a win that they've ever had. Potomac Falls, just trying to even it up at 5-5 here. Who do you like in this game, Bruce?
You know, I've got two what I consider upset picks on the board. I'm going to make one later that these guys are going to say is an upset pick, but I don't think it is. I'm going with Dominion. The way they're playing, I just think Dominion is kind of on a roll. They shut out Parkview in the Battle of Route 7. They're going to finish the Sterling sweep.
And I like what Jason Allen has done over there at Potomac Falls. Again, 4-5 coming into this. They're, again, fighting for their seeding in the playoffs. Home game, I think Potomac Falls is going to come away with the win.
I'll tell you one thing about Potomac Falls the past couple of weeks is they've gotten beaten up by bigger, stronger teams. That's going to take its toll here because Dominion is a bigger, stronger team than they are. Take Dominion at home. I'm taking the Titans. All right, how about Forest Park at C.D. Hilton? A great one down in Prince William County. Forest Park having their best season in years. Hilton cruising right along as the number one seed coming in out of this deal, or number one team out of Prince William County. They've only got one loss here, Bruce. Forest Park with two. They can validate their season with a win over Trayvon McMillan and the Bulldogs. Do they get it done?
No. Cecil D. Hilton is the one team that is that good that nobody's talking about right now. We talk about who's got a potential upset and who can maybe make some noise when they get in the playoff. I think it's Cecil and the boys.
Well, this is a offense versus defense. I mean, Forest Park has played great defense all year. They don't have a whole lot of offense. I don't think they've scored 100 points combined in the course of this year. I think C.D. Hilton just has too much for them. McMillan is the leader there.
Yeah, easy pick. I agree with you. Take C.D. Hilton in this game. Forest Park, great season, but you're gonna have to be really, really great to beat the Bulldogs. All right, South Lakes at Fairfax. Kevin Simon's team starting to turn the corner a little bit just in time for the postseason. South Lakes right there on the verge. If they can get that sixth win, they're going to be in the postseason as well, and they're going to be a team maybe to keep an eye out for in this one also here. Bruce, who do you like in this game?
Yeah, this is one of those Andy Hayes picks. Who's got the best player on the field?
Fairfax.
Okay. What did Fairfax do last week? Almost gave Stonebridge their second Liberty District loss in history. Put a real scare on the Bulldogs. Played them awful tough. I don't think this is a hard pick, Fairfax.
Well, South Lakes is fighting for that seed right there in there. If they lose this, they may still make it. Right? They might be a 16 seed or 15 somewhere in there. But I'm with you. I think Fairfax, Nick Scott, Cavalgin, and boys got a little bit too much for South Lakes. I'm with Fairfax.
Athlete-wise, South Lakes has as many athletes as Fairfax does. And I don't want to downplay that because I think Kyrie Denny may be as dynamic as Nick Scott. But overall, I think Fairfax is having a little better season, and I think they're a little bit more ready for this game here with Nick Scott playing quarterback now that they've gone up against Stonebridge. Believe it or not, you leave that game from Stonebridge, even though you lost, with a lot of confidence, and I think that gets them the win this week. All right, Chantilly at Westfield. Normally this game would be the last one we talk about, but right now it's 5-4 versus 7-2. Hurts me a little bit because, you know, this is a game that we always want to see it be for everything. It will mean a lot to whoever wins, but will it mean a lot in the big picture? I don't know. Bruce, who wins this annual great rivalry game? What do you think?
This is one of those picks that has no analysis to it, that has no logic, that has no supporting arguments for making the pick. Some would say that's what I do every week, and that's how I pick them with a little dartboard and who's got the best food, which sometimes is the case if you want to get true. But my partner, Taylor Jensen, who I've done games with for years and all, and couldn't be here tonight or on the show, he's had Chantilly at 5-5. So
and he took some heat for that in the summer.
Yeah, how's that working out for you, fans? Yeah. Well, without a respect for my partner, I'm going with Westfield to hang that 5-5 on Chantilly.
What do you think, Dave?
I think Westfield has started to get their offense really back on track. I mean, they got shut out against Centerville. Mason Scoville took a big step up last week as a quarterback, had a nice night. Again, they've discovered Everton Gray out of the backfield again. Thrasher Walker's just too tough. Chantilly, I'm sorry, their defense just is porous. It's the only way to put it, except for Rayshawn Smith. And I think this is going to be Westfield's win at home.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, the momentum here for the two teams totally different going into this game. But it's one thing I know about this one. Throw the record out, throw all the hype and the analysis out the window. It doesn't matter, because when these two teams face each other, usually the team that's expected to get drummed somehow comes up with a great game. And I think it could happen again. I think Chantilly, they typically give Westfield a tough time. That said, this might be the year that is not the case. I'm taking Westfield here by a couple touchdowns because I agree with you, David. Defensively, they've not been able to slow down the run. That's what Westfield does well. I think Westfield wins by a couple scores. Moving on to the other game, the big game down in Centerville here from Concord District Play. And it is Robinson heading in to the Wildcat Nation. Now, Robinson is 7-2. Boy, what a great season, what a great story. Danny Meyer coming back and leading this Robinson team. It's unbelievable. But now you're about to see the big boys on the block. The bully that takes everybody's lunch money and smiles in the process here. Bruce, is Centerville taking Robinson's lunch money in this game?
No, we've talked about Centerville all season long. And I finally bought into the Robinson Rams. And they are among the teams that, if you take every other team in the area, who's got the best shot to beat Centerville? I don't think any of them really does. But if you had to label them and say who's got the best shot, I think Robinson is in that group, but it's not going to happen.
Well, Robinson is certainly a very, very good team. They beat Centerville last year in overtime. Avon Johnson scoring the overtime touchdown in that game. They got some great athletes. Rolette, again, is playing great at quarterback. Denham and Indy Ackerman out there. Shaq Jackson's a 6'5", 255-pound tight end. They got big size on the line. They're going to give Centerville all they can handle. But Centerville is going to come out with the win on senior night.
I'll make a prediction to you on this one. This is going to be a 4-touchdown win for Centerville at least. Remember I said that. Look, I'm going based on what they did to Westfield. They shut Westfield down like it was nothing. They won 28-0. Westfield and Robinson played a close game. Chantilly, they beat Chantilly 42-0. Centerville did. Robinson and Chantilly played a close game. Folks, do the math. It's not that hard. Centerville is going to run away with this game. It won't even be close in the second half, taking the Wildcats. All right, Tuscarora at Briar Woods. This is for everything in the Potomac District. This is for the number 2 seed in 5A North. That's a big deal. Now, where you get placed in the bracket in 5A North could decide whether or not you have a chance to get out of 5A North here. Who wins this game? Last couple of years, we've hyped it. It hasn't been close, but this might be the year that changes. Bruce, what do you think?
Don't bet on it. I love Tuscarora, and I like where they're headed, and I think they are headed for championship runs, or at least they'll be in a position to make a real legitimate run at championships. But Briar Woods, look, they've won 3 state titles in the last 3 years. They've only lost 4 games in that whole time frame as well. And every time you kind of say this is going to be a close game, with the exception of that North Stafford game earlier this season, it hasn't been. Briar Woods has found a way to really separate within that game and make it a big score, and I see that happening again this week.
I like Tuscarora with what they're doing out there. Noah Reimers leads a good group of athletes, but man, Briar Woods, they just keep bringing them and bringing them and bringing them and bringing them, and I think Briar Woods is going to bring home the bacon on this game.
Don't you really feel like that Briar Woods over the past 3-4 weeks has been a different team than how they were in the beginning part of the season? Like, I think if Tuscarora had seen Briar Woods in that week 3 or 4, I think they may have beaten Briar Woods. But since they've been healthy, the Falcons once they started getting healthy, it's been a whole different ball game. And I think the one key here is the defense for Briarwoods. They've played much better. Now, they're not the same defense that they were the last couple years. I think Tuscarora will have success running the football against Briarwoods. I do, because stopping Noah Reimers and Mally Barker, good luck. I mean, Martinsburg couldn't do it, and I don't think Briarwoods will do it. But the difference is Trace McSorley. As long as number 7's playing quarterback for Briarwoods, you're not beating that guy very often. And I don't think Tuscarora is ready to beat him. Maybe not in this round. They might get a chance in the postseason. Folks, take Briarwoods at home. You have to in this game if you're a smart guy betting on this one. But I think it's a closer game than it has been in years past. I think Coach Burnett will play this game much like he did with Broader. I don't think he's going to throw the ball a lot. I think he's going to run the clock down and sustain drives. And I think it's going to make it a closer game when it's all said and done. Turnovers, defense for Tuscarora, those are the keys. Can the Huskies play good defense and stop McSorley? Nobody's been able to do it since he's been there. I don't think they'll do it here this week. So I'm taking Briarwoods. All right, now we get to the final couple of games to pick, and these are going to be fun. This is where I'm going on Friday night, I think. I haven't made my final decision yet here, but Woodgrove and Valley. Listen, I live in Purcellville. I live in the Purcellville area. So this is emotional for me. I watch these two teams, and I see these kids walking around town from time to time here. Brucey, Woodgrove at Valley. This might be the best rivalry in Loudoun County at this point. Even though Stonebridge Broad Run stakes a claim on our airwaves. Brucey, who wins this game? The Wild and the Jungle are going at it. Valley going for 9 wins. Woodgrove trying to go into the postseason with 7. They can get it here. Woo! Man. Tell me, what do you think, bud?
You know, for me right now, this may be the toughest pick of the year. I mean, you look at this thing and you go, okay, and then you go the other side and you go, okay. You go over here, you go, why not? You go over here, you go, why not? This is my second mild upset, I think, to try to maybe make up a little ground here. I'm not real confident in this pick, and Woodgrove, please don't take this as me not giving you any love anymore. I love what's going on out there. Mike Skinner, I love you, buddy. You know, I always have, since we were coaching against each other on Little League and T-ball and all that kind of stuff.
Just make your pick, for crying out loud.
Old school Loudoun County me says Vikings.
What do you think, Dave?
Well, I love Josh Sweet. I think he's a great running back, great football player. Mike Skinner knows how to win. He's shown that. He's got a state championship to his credit. But I think Loudoun Valley, they're kind of tired of baby brother out there getting all the hype from a lot of the press. And I think Loudoun Valley says, this is our year, Woodgrove. You're not quite there. We're going to show you. We're going to do a beatdown. You might come in with the Spirit Squad, the Wild, and they may do some things here. But on the football field, we're going to own this. Loudoun Valley on the win.
Yeah, I'll tell you this right now. I think this is the most important game on Loudoun Valley's schedule. Win or lose, you know, listen, you can talk about playoffs and all that stuff, and I'm not trying to downplay how Valley looks at the postseason, but this one is circled right here, okay? And Woodgrove has had some success against Valley in their first couple years. They don't like that in Purcellville. And if you don't know how it went down in Purcellville, basically a lot of the same kids that, you know, started at Woodgrove used to go to Valley. They're still in school. They still talk amongst each other. They're friends. Some of them live next door to each other because there was no zoning process in how you chose to go. You just were told if you want to go, you can go. Well, that has created a ton of animosity and a ton of rivalry. And guess what? Here we are. Now on Friday night, this is what separates the two teams moving forward. They're not in the same classification. One's in 3A, one's in 4A. So to say it doesn't matter, you know, that's not accurate. It matters. And I'll tell you, it matters more to Valley to win this game probably than it does to Woodgrove. Okay? I'm just going to make that statement. So circle it right now. I'm saying that the Vikings will tame the Wild. They will tame Woodgrove in this game. Woodgrove a little bit too one-dimensional for me. I think Valley shuts down the running game some. Josh Sweet will have some success, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win this ballgame. Take the Vikings and that defense out there because they're going to hit Woodgrove in the mouth. It's coming Friday night, and you get ready. That's my little primer for that one. There you go. I'm taking Valley. I'm taking Valley. Here we go. Final game. Now, if you thought that rivalry meant something, wait till you see the teams on our front table here go at it on Friday night. We show a shot here. You ready? Battlefield and Patriot. Now, Patriot, this is their 3rd year of existence. All the kids that played for Patriot in their first year came from Battlefield after they won the state championship in 2010. They would love nothing more than to go into the postseason with a crushing win over Battlefield. And Mark Cox and the Bobcats are tired of hearing about Patriot. They're sick of it. They're saying, what have you accomplished? Yes, you have 7 wins. So what? We have a state title 2 years ago. Quit talking about it until you beat us. Bruce, the line has been drawn in the sand down in Haymarket here. This is going to end up being one of the great rivalries in the state of Virginia for a long time to come. Who wins this game?
Let me tell you what, that line in the sand, that's not in sand because that can move a little bit and shift around with the wind and the breeze. That line that's like the Great Wall of China. That line is there. That's permanent. It's not going anywhere. But I'm the old guy around here, right? And hopefully once in a while with age, maybe not in my case, comes a little bit of wisdom. What have I been saying for years and years and years and years? Don't count the Bobcats out in any situation, especially late in the season, and especially when some people think that it's not their turn. I'm going and sticking with my Bobcats all the way. I'm not that dumb.
You've learned some lessons.
I learned.
I mean, you've definitely learned over the years, and I haven't learned as well as you. David, what do you think?
This is the only one I don't have circled on here. To me, this is the hardest pick of all of them. I'm with you. Mark Cox, his group is always ready come playoff time. Big games, Mark Cox is a great coach. Right now, I kind of like the athletes, what's going on over there at Patriot. Agnew and some of the other guys over there, they got a great club going to Patriot, and they've shown they can come into a big-time environment. They did it against Hilton early in the year and knock them off. Patriot.
Taking Patriot. All right. Let me give you my analysis, and I'm gonna kind of lean with my buddy Bruce on this one here. I think Patriot may be the overall better, athletic team in this scenario. But Big Brother, it ain't gonna matter. They're not that much better. And even though they're playing at home against Battlefield, Battlefield lives right there too. That's home for them too. They don't care about that. Let me tell you one thing about Mark Cox and the Bobcats. Earlier in the season when they took on Stonewall, they were probably outmatched a little bit athletically. Who won the game, Bruce? Battlefield. Got it? 41-38. Remember this, okay? Mark Cox has the ability as a coach to get his guys to believe they're the best team that's ever played. And they went into the state championship game in 2010 facing a team that was athletically superior. Not even close. When Hermitage came out of the tunnel, we looked up in the booth and said, oh man, Battlefield's in big trouble. They didn't just beat Hermitage, they manhandled Hermitage with the #1 recruit defensively in the country. Folks, this is what's going to happen again on Friday night. Battlefield is going to beat Patriot, and they're going to do it in a way up front where you're going to know at the end of the night that the Bobcats were there. You heard me, Patriot. Battlefield's coming to your place, and you're going to know that they were there. Take the Bobcats. They're winning this Battlefield Patriot game on Friday night. There you go. And that's it for our picks of the week. Man, this rivalry stuff's getting me going, man. I'm ready to go. Great games coming up here. We're going to step aside for a quick break, show you the top 10 plays from last week on the network. When we come back, it'll be time for our Game Day Mailbag next on Gameday All-Access.
The top 10 plays of the week on the Gameday Broadcast Network are proudly presented by Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network.
The hold is down. The kick is up. Good. And it is good. The Wolverines have taken the lead with 1:36 to go over the Broad Run Spartans.
Handoff around the right end. He's got it. He's going to go. 25-30, 35-40. It's a foot race to the 50. 45-40, 35-30, 25-10, 5. Touchdown, Westfield.
First and 10 for the Rebels at the 45. Back to Pasco Scott. Fakes it. He's going to fire this one long ways. Hauled in! Touchdown, Rebels! Jason Monroe pulls a Willie Mays out of his hat and hauls that one in over his shoulder. Holy cow!
Westfield under center. Scoville to the up man. breaks it through, and he's going to go. 50, 45, 40. It's a foot race, and he is gone. That's Evan Gray for his third touchdown. That's 71 yards.
Smith into it. Nice high kick. It is going to be Eldridge at his own 27. Out across the 30, 35, 40. Eldridge making a man miss at midfield. David Eldridge to the near side. He's racing away. Touchdown, Kettle Run, Cougars. David Eldridge.
In the shotgun with a whole bunch to choose from. He'll hand off to Polk on the end round. He looks for room. He is patient. He's going to dash. He's going to get down the sideline. He has a wall. He's going to cut back. Polk is at the 50. Polk is going to explode. Polk makes another man miss. Polk's at the 30. And Brandon Polk is going to take that to the house. Touchdown, Briarwood's Falcons.
There's the snap. The hold is down. Huddleston's kick is on the way. It's long enough. And it is good. Wow, what a leg on this young man.
Well, if you can kick off this turf in conditions like this, he's going to be good from 50 yards on this. It's a 45-yard, 46-yard attempt.
Eldridge, Sklenik, and Danny Matson. Quick screens coming to Eldridge. He's got it at the 20. Eldridge with a blocker in front at the 40. David Eldridge at midfield. David Eldridge pulling away at the 40. David Eldridge, 10, 5, touchdown. Kettle Run, Cougars.
In motion this time. Handoff. It goes. That's Turner. Turner makes a cut back in. He got a great block. Taylor Booz gave him the block. The escort. There's another block by Greg Alston down the field, and 6 points for Centerville. 80-yard touchdown run by A.J. Turner, Concord District, SST.
If he puts this through, Chargers will have the lead.
Good operation. Vance is the holder.
Problem is, Robinson just called a timeout, so they can't ice the kicker again. They just called. Let's see if they got it done. The snap, the hold, the kick is blocked. Unbelievable.
Oh my.
Unbelievable. Now, there is a conversation.
No flag.
Between these officials, but as you said, no flag on that play.
They're chatting.
Robinson.
They called a tip.
Thank you for watching the Verizon Wireless Top 10 Plays of the Week on the Game Day Broadcast Network. For more coverage of Northern Virginia high school football, visit us online at GameDayMagazine.com and join the network today.
Welcome you back here to Game Day All-Access. I'm Andy Hayes, joined alongside Bruce Bornarth, and now the quarterback of our Mailbag segment is Madison Summers, and she joins us right here on set. We said goodbye to David Liddle, and Madison, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Can't complain. I mean, every week we got some good questions. We got a bunch of good ones this week, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
All right, let's go ahead and start.
Our first one's from Mark Mosley, 3. Is it going to hurt Sharando that they are playing weak teams weeks before the playoffs?
Well, I think, Bruce, anytime that you're not getting competition, it hurts you a little bit. But the one thing that Bill Hall has always stressed is their standard of excellence about what they're capable of with their own potential. They look inward more so than who their opponents are, and I think that's always helped them, and that's a great mindset. They focus on the process and all that stuff. Does it help you to play some close games? Yeah, because you don't want to be waxing people and then all of a sudden you get in that close game and don't execute. But I don't think it hurts them that badly, do you?
Nah, I read these questions for this week, and I read, sort of for me anyway, a little bit of a theme through there, and it's coaching. The leadership for Sharando, beginning with Bill Hall at the top, is second to none in the area. And they will find ways to create challenges, to create little, games within the game or within practice to keep them sharp and focused. Some teams it might matter, not these guys.
All right.
At Nacho Cheesin', what is the prediction for the regional championship?
Well, I have to say, this is the best Twitter name I've heard here thus far, at Nacho Cheese. And I actually think this is your Twitter name, Bruce. Is this what you came up with?
I love nacho cheese. Cheez-Its. I had a buddy used to work for one of those food companies as a sales guy, and he'd come home with the dated Cheez-Its and fill up his trunk just full of Cheez-Its and Campbell's soup. It was awesome.
Well, he asked us what the prediction was for the regional championship. And now, well, which one is the regional championship? I mean, is it the one on Thanksgiving weekend before the state's sectional? It's a little different. So we'll try to clarify what you asked. Bruce, if the teams that we see, the number 1 seed in 6A and the number 2 seed in 6A play each other, let's just hypothetically throw it out there. Centerville versus Lake Braddock. Who wins that game in your opinion right now? Who are you taking?
Centerville.
I have to agree with you.
I look into this question and as meaning, who's going to come out of our area that's going to play in that state title game?
Okay.
And I'm going to say Centerville in 6A. Shocker, I'm going to take Briarwoods in 5A. The way they're playing and the way they're on a roll right now, they have a little chip themselves because the Falcons, everybody in 5A and 6A in the past has been saying, oh yeah, you guys are too big to be playing in 4A and you're beating up on the little guys. Wait till you come up here and play us big dogs. Briarwoods is a big dog. I'm going there. Below that, when you get down to 3 and 4, I don't know. I don't know. Sharando's is playing as good as anybody.
Sharando would be a team you got to look at in 4A. 3A, how about Loudon Valley? I mean, they're going to be probably the 2 seed. I think Lafayette's locked up the 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken. You got to like what the Vikings have done. But, I don't know if they'll end up, being the team that wins it all here in 3A. I like Briarwoods as well. I like Massaponax. Those are the 2 teams that to me have played the best football throughout the whole season. But don't count Stonebridge out. Right. It's such a big mistake. Even though they haven't played great, when you start taking Mickey Thompson and marginalizing him and that team over there and saying they're not as good, you're making a huge assumption that they're not going to turn it on and be the team to beat here in 5A. I'm telling you now, when the playoffs begin, there's a different gear that gets put in motion at Stonebridge High School. So you can't count the Bulldogs out. Good question, though.
Over in Leesburg from Justin, what is the reason why some teams continually win in and out year out?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. It's a great question, but really it comes down to leadership, from the head coach. And I think there's one key thing here. If you wanted to kind of identify all the things that a great coach does throughout the year, I think the most important thing that they do is they manage their relationships better than most. And they do it all the way through the whole thing, through the administration, through their assistant coaches, and down to their players, and then also to the parents and the parents of the players. I think when you're a relationship-focused guy, when you manage those relationships and you take care of those people and you treat them right, then it adds up to being something that wins out in the big picture year in and year out. Because they buy into you. They follow you. They will run through a brick wall for you. If you don't manage those relationships right, it crumbles too fast when things start going poorly on multiple levels. And I think if you could, identify one thing that great head coaches do every year in and year out, why their teams are always successful, is they get it. They understand that those relationships are like gold, and it starts there. That's my opinion.
I think this is a one-word answer, and it's what he just said wrapped up in coaching. This level more so than in any other level. Yes, coaches never take a snap. Players play. Talent wins. That's a general rule. But how many times do we see less talented teams with great leadership at the high school level go on and win? I think it's purely coaching. You talk about relationships and all, you're 1,000% right. The other word that I would add to that is motivation. They know how to motivate their players, no matter what the situation is, to have them jacked up and ready to go. And the great coaches know what level that team needs to be at. Sometimes you can be 2 up, you can be 2 down, and it's the great ones that know where that balance is.
And I think the other thing too is that you got to have the support from everybody. I mean, you can't have half the people bought in. You can't have administration that's not bought into helping you be a successful team every year. You can't have parents who are problems. I think so many times today you hear stories from coaches about parents who are just too overbearing. They think their kid's the next #1 draft choice in the NFL, and they get in the way and they cause issues. And I think the teams that successfully manage all that, the coaches that understand how to manage all that and make everybody get on the same team. Look, you can't make everybody happy, but you got to make the majority of people happy. right? Wouldn't you agree with that? And I think the coaches that know how to do that best are the ones that continually win year in and year out. You got to be a good coach, but it's the other stuff that people don't understand. It goes year round. It's not just one, part of the season. It's year round. You got to do it 365 days a year.
For the great ones, leadership carries over outside of the locker room or outside of the team. I just thought this when you're talking about parents and administrators and fans and that kind of thing. The great leaders out there, and you know who they are, the fans, they're not going to come at them. They're not going to give them a hard time. They may grumble and moan a little bit a lot, but the great ones, there's no question who's in charge. When that becomes a gray area, that's when you start having issues.
That's right. Great question, though.
Next, from @LettersNumbers, what is a legitimate excuse for a starting player to miss a playoff game?
Well, I guess the only legitimate excuse to me is either injury or violating team rules. I think we've seen some discrepancies with how, even at the college level, when guys get in trouble and they do things that they're not supposed to do based on team rules, that somehow they still find their way to the football field. I think the legitimate excuse is that if you don't do what is right, that is outlined within your program, you shouldn't play. And if it costs your team a playoff victory, then so be it. Because we're not here, I don't think, as coaches and as leaders in programs to just win football games. We're here to help develop young men and teach you about life. And if you don't understand that your actions have consequences, and you're a guy that is selfish and you do something stupid, you deserve to sit. You don't have it's a privilege to play high school football, not a right. And I think so many times we see the opposite happen, where a kid doesn't get that message, that he does something wrong and yet he's still playing. That shouldn't be the case ever, in my opinion. To me, it's more than about winning and losing. And if it isn't about that, then we got a problem. And I think part of the media attention that's on all this stuff, and we're partially to blame here, Bruce, when you start focusing too much on what teams do on the football field, winning and losing, and less on what's going on. Is the kid getting better in school? Are his grades getting better? Is he a better young man because of this program? If that's not the focus and the priority, then there's a problem with that, in my opinion. So the legitimate excuse is either you're hurt or you have not done what you're supposed to do, be a good teammate and a good player for your team. Those are the only two reasons why I think you shouldn't play in a playoff game. What do you think?
Injuries is a given. The future effect on these kids and on your program from a coaching standpoint, the rules thing and doing what's right, the future effect of that is, I think there's a much more benefit to sitting somebody for team rules than if you play them and the message that is sent by going the other way. If you take a kid that's violated team rules, you are sending the message that, hey, that's okay, winning that and winning that championship is more important than what's right. It is going to be the message that you're sending to the rest of that team. And if you're building a real program, that's a cancer. You can't let that happen down the road. And let's not forget, these guys are 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. They haven't even begun life yet. And if you don't instill those right lessons, where are they? They're in high school, right? They're in school. Part of your job as a coach is education. And what more of an education can you give them than teaching them what's right and what's wrong? And maybe, in my opinion, other than the word love, the most important word we have in our language is respect. And if you don't teach them that, and that they can get away with anything, then you're doing that kid a disservice for the rest of his life.
I agree. And there's a great saying out there about, you promote what you permit. And I think that's something that every coach should keep in mind. If you allow that stuff to go on, then you're condoning it. You're promoting it to the rest of the team. And there's one thing I've learned about players. You will never fool a player about a coach.
1,000%
They know right away if you're legit or not, and if you're worthy of their respect. And you have to show them that with the way you handle your program. So I think it's a great question, but we're obviously old school. There's a lot of other thoughts on this, and we could go on for hours about it. But
I think maybe the intent of the question, reading into it, maybe the idea is what's our opinion of sitting a player against a weaker opponent to try to keep them healthy and give them rest. But that's not as an important a question as the way we addressed it, I don't think.
Andy, this one's for you. Out in Haymarket, Claire wants to know, why can't you pick a close game for the game of the week?
Oh, ouch.
You go, Claire. You go.
Claire, you're killing me. I tell you what. The answer is I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a good answer on this one. All the games that we've called over the years that traditionally are good game of the week candidates have been dog games this year. They've been blowouts. Now, I would like to blame Chris Barassa, my color guy, because he's the one that is kind of the link to the bad games. When Bruce and I did a game together with Broader and Tuscarawas, our best game of the year. It was the most exciting game on the network for the game of the week setup. So I'm blaming Chris Barassa. I don't think I'm the problem. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and point the finger at Chris, because every game I've done with him, it's been a blowout. Every game I've done with Bruce, it's been a close one. Now, that said, he'll say every game he's done outside of me has been a good game, and I'm the reason. I can't pick them right now. Bruce, I'm just going to let you pick the game of the week for me this week. What do you think?
I do appreciate the compliment, and because they don't come all that often. I know you love me. I love you like a brother. But I have to tell you, didn't we just figure a whole segment talking about leadership?
We did, yeah.
Who owns this company?
I do.
Who's the head honcho around here? Who sets the tone that trickles all the way down through those 10, 12 broadcasts a week?
It's my fault completely.
And what are you doing?
Yeah.
Pointing the finger. So you're not old enough to know, where does the buck stop?
Yeah, but it stops here.
Okay.
I know.
Enough said.
I think you're right. I need to take responsibility for my own actions. I agree. I need to eat a little crow and apologize to Coach Barassa. I'm sorry. That wasn't right. I'm just angry you've had a couple better games than I have this year. Bruce, where are you sending me this week? I mean, let's answer the question for Claire. I've gone with traditional games.
Am I picking?
I've gone with traditional games in the past, this past season, and it's burned me because those games haven't been close. So where should I be going this week if you had to choose for me?
If I had a vote, I'm going to send you right in your own backyard. You go and you stay in Purcellville this week, Andy Hayes, and you watch the Wolverines and the Vikings, and you will not be disappointed. They will not let you down up there.
All right.
Hometown, old school Loudoun County, knock you in the mouth, old school smash mouth down in the dirt. I hope they got turf on it. No, Valley doesn't.
It's got grass.
They're playing in the mud. I hope
don't say it's
mud.
raining. Don't say it's raining. I don't
want
that.
You've got equipment to deal with.
Yeah, we don't need to deal with that. Thank you, Claire.
Go to Valley.
Thank you for calling me out. Hey, there you go. Bruce just picked it for me. Maybe I'm going to Valley this week. Madison, thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
As always, it's great to listen to all of the questions and hear all of the comments out there on Twitter. We love the Game Day Nation. If you haven't followed us yet on Twitter, please do so at GBN Mobile. And hey, we'll interact with you a bunch. The South County kids last week won the spirit battle. They were really kind of salty, Bruce, when we called them out last week. But they showed up big. I want to congratulate them. They didn't win the game, but they won the spirit battle. They were awesome. Next time, just don't be so mean to us, man. We're nice guys, aren't we, Bruce? Man, they were nasty to us. All right, that's it here for Game Day All-Access this week. We'll see you next week. Make sure you tune in Friday night, rivalry week here on the Game Day Broadcast Network. It doesn't get better than this until next week when the playoffs begin. For Bruce Bornarth, Madison Summers, and David Liddle, I'm Andy Hayes. We'll see you next time.
The Game Day Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Game Day Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training. Train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end zone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior, results-oriented care. Proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.